Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline is the College League Manager of SB Nation, Matt Brown. Matt, nice to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, fellas. It's good to be back.
I learned something new about you this morning, that you're a Pokemon superstar.
So I think we'd go with enthusiast rather than superstar, because just as soon as I feel like I got everything figured out, I get to the office and we bring in these interns who are 10 years younger than me, and they'll just dunk on me and everything. But yeah, I did download the new game along with apparently every single other person in the Western Hemisphere. Been diddling around with that here this morning. It was funny. We can talk about football in just a second, I promise. But
okay.
I downloaded it yesterday, and my toddler was having a hard time sleeping, so I'm kind of up, and it's 12:30 at night. My wife wakes up. She goes in the kitchen, and I'm waving this phone around, trying to catch a stupid Zubat or something. My wife just shakes her head, walks back into the kitchen. She's like, "You're a grown man." And there's not really a good comeback for that, other than I just have to recognize what I am, and that's a little bit sad.
Pokemon Go. You can join Matt Brown and the rest of the Western Hemisphere if you so choose.
I'm gonna do that, man. I grew up collecting Pokemon cards, and I still got them, man. They're worth a lot of money now, and even me and Harvey Unga, running back that played there a couple years ago with me.
Yeah.
Same thing. He was like, "Man, I got this card, I got that card," and I'm like, see. Now I feel good, man. Now, because my wife says the same thing. I'm a grown man, but I'm like, babe, I'm not selling these yet.
Look, I mean, if you stick out those holographic Charizards, man, you don't need a 401k.
I do.
You don't need a diversified investment portfolio.
I got a holographic Blastoise as well, man. I think my Charizard has a tiny scratch on it, but you can't really tell. When I go sell it, I'm just gonna hold it at an angle so the light kind of blocks it, and I'll be good.
Brian, you're speaking a different language right now.
What, man? This is
man. I'm telling Brian is going to be the most popular guy in middle school right now.
I'm telling you. Tell him, Matt. Tell him. Let him know.
Matt Brown of SB Nation with this. We're off to a rip-roaring start thanks to Pokemon. Now we can talk about the second most important thing, and that is college football and the ever-changing world of Big 12 expansion or not Big 12 expansion, Matt. I saw you going back and forth with David Ubben of Fox Sports Southwest yesterday about what the Big 12 needs to do, and he made the point that if they expand now with a team like BYU and one of the others, throw one of them in, they would maybe be more prone to be poached from when those TV grant of rights contracts come up. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my thinking about this right now is that there's not really anything the Big 12 is going to be able to do to make them less likely to get poached. They cannot magically make Iowa State a national athletic brand. They can't magically turn Norman, Oklahoma into a gigantic metropolis. So when these grant of rights deals are up, unless the TV rights, as we know it, just completely implodes in 6 years, which is possible, but maybe not the most likely, then the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be able to offer a lot more money and more competitive across-the-board athletics, or even in the Big Ten's case, academic prestige, than what the Big 12 can offer. So it'll be difficult to keep either Texas or Oklahoma in the fold, and you might get poached anyway. The way that I think about this, and from talking to some people, is if you're going to get poached either way, or you run that risk, why not try to make things a little bit more stable for the bulk of your membership, for your Texas Techs or your Iowa States? But it would appear that conference administrators see things a little bit differently and are content to roll the dice and try to be the ones doing the poaching in a couple of years.
Matt, Bob Bowlesby targeted July 19th as the potential decision day. What do you expect to happen on July 19th?
I expect either on July 19th or leaked out ahead of time for the conference to decide to stand pat and say, we analyzed all of the data. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We're not going to expand right now. And maybe they decide to hold another conference call in a year or two and revisit the issue. Maybe they decide to put the kibosh on it entirely. But I would not expect the conference to add any new members, including BYU, within the short term.
We have heard the words Big 12 expansion talk is dead, or Big 12 expansion is dead from Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports. Do you take that literally?
I don't. Well, I wouldn't say that it's dead in the sense that if the Big 12 had the opportunity to grab another Power 5 institution. A few years ago, they were rumored to try to go after Florida State or Clemson, or maybe things go completely sour with the Pac-12, and a scenario creates itself where you could talk to Arizona or Arizona State. I don't think Big 12 administrators would turn that down. So I guess in that sense, it's not dead. Is it dead in the sense that, the Big 12 is looking to add Cincinnati or BYU or Memphis within the next, 2 years? It does not appear that's very likely right now.
Matt, what do you think OU President David Bourne saw that made him change his tune about expansion so quickly?
That's a good question. And I'm still trying to kind of dig into that myself. I'm sending out a couple of text messages. I'm trying to ask some people too. But my guess is at this point, either the short-term financial benefit without a television network was not going to be as great as he thought. That you're looking at picking up an extra $2 or $3 million per school in the first year or two, and that number will get lower as whoever you expand gets ramped up to a full revenue share. So either that math doesn't work out, or he just didn't have the votes. Because this is a decision that you really need to make unanimously or almost unanimously. And if you have Texas and one or two other schools that still have some apprehension about changing things, no matter how hard you bang your hand on the table, it's not really going to be able to get done.
Matt Brown, College League Manager of SB Nation, with us on BYU Sports Nation. He has been following the madness that is Big 12 expansion, or lack thereof. It feels like for 5 years now, right, Matt?
Yeah, it's something like that. I got a template that I can just kind of fire up from one of these articles, because it seems like so much of what I've written now, you could go back to 2013 and change a couple of dates and one quote, and it's essentially the same story. I'm looking forward. I realize that part of that is a reflection of the fact that I am not necessarily the prose master here, but there hasn't been a whole lot of really substantive change, and I look forward to not writing about this anymore.
How in the world does BYU make and, more importantly, keep itself as a football program attractive as a candidate, not just for the Big 12, but perhaps for when that first Power 5 conference goes to 16 teams and dominoes start to fall?
That's a great question, and I'm honestly not sure what else they can do at this point. Because if you look at it right now, BYU should be able to go and say, hey, compared to all these other institutions, we have the most Power Conference ready infrastructure. We have the most Power Conference ready stadium and fan base. And if you look at Sagarin, if you look at S&P Plus or F Plus or any of these data-centric models we use to compare teams, BYU has not only been a more consistent and stronger football program than their peers in this group, but compared to an average Big 12 program. And that's with an athletic budget of, 55, 56 million. So you could say, imagine what we could do if we're spending 70, which is around the minimum athletic budget for a Big 12 conference. And if you look at all of that, and they weren't able to convince anybody, I don't know if another season, another 2 seasons of winning 9 games, even with this schedule, really substantially changes things. So other than having just a super season, you kind of are what you are, and have to hope that the finances or the model of the sport changes in a way that would make people change their mind a little bit.
And maybe it is a super season, a la 1996 for BYU or 2001 when they started 12-0. Who knows?
Yeah.
But is this
sure?
Is this a case of maybe the Big 12 saying, okay, well, BYU brings all of those numbers, but is there another school that is like BYU in terms of all of the ratings systems that you just mentioned and the metrics? Is there another school like that out there that's not in a Power 5 conference?
That's possible. If I would have to do some more digging to see if that was the thought process. I can't speak to that. But I think if you look at that math, I don't think Cincinnati's that far off. Or if it's just a financial play, if the only point of expanding is to try and improve the depth of your conference, you could get BYU and probably Boise State as football-only members, and would not dilute your product at all. So I don't know if that's the thought process there or not, but there might. It's entirely possible that these administrators are using metrics beyond just what we have been perceiving as the metrics people would look at in making this decision.
See, and Matt, going with those metrics, I think we all know that BYU has put themselves in a position, based off of those metrics, to get an invite. I think the only metric, if it is even counted, is that I'm concerned about is the wins. or the losses. If BYU doesn't have good seasons, maybe they go to a bowl game here and there, but let's say that they drop those down from 9-10 win seasons to 6-7. Does that change the way the Big 12 or other conferences look at BYU?
I mean, like, if we look at the way that other institutions have been able to get power conference invites, the prevailing thing has been about money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, BYU, by every metric, is a superior athletic program to Rutgers. But Rutgers, is a peer institution of the Big Ten. They've made the Big Ten a gajillion dollars, and people are willing to overlook some mediocre, at best, sports programs to get them an invite. Failing an ability to make a ton of money, then it comes to wins. And so, sure, I think it would go without saying that it would be better to be an 8, 9, 10 win program that's beating teams that people have heard of on ESPN than it is to be a 5, 6 win program that's kind of struggling to get any kind of national attention. So it's always better to win than to not win. And if you can't make the claim that you're going to make somebody rich, which I don't think BYU can do at this point, the best to make a claim that you're going to make them better at sports. And that's something that they can do right now. And if they keep winning, they can continue to make that argument.
Follow Matt Brown on the Twitter machine at MattSBN. We'll end with this. What's more likely to happen first? A Power 5 conference expands to 16 teams or the Big 12 expands?
That's a great question. I think that you'll see a conference expand to 16 teams at the end of this round of the grant of rights, which is, it would be around 2023, 2024 in that neighborhood. I would be surprised if the Big 12 expanded before then. But I think, as you and I both know from having these conversations here, they can say one thing and have to do something completely different 18 hours later. So with a very small degree of confidence, I would say I think a 16-team conference is more likely.
Very good. Matt, entertaining as always to talk to you. We appreciate the insight into trying to figure out what in the world's going on in Big 12 country.
You bet. Happy to talk with you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Matt Brown on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.